And the head coach, Mike Vrabel, known him a while, we all have, is joining us. 3 Super Bowls, 3 division titles. Well, you know, Mike, I talked to a GM about you before you got hired, and he said Vrabel is probably a top 2 or 3 coach because you get the intellect, but he's a culture builder. And the truth is, in modern football, you need kind of a CEO. And a lot of guys can't do this. So how do you you got a good owner. You knew Josh and Drake. How do you build a culture? I mean, what's the first 6 weeks like? What is the secret sauce to build? It's more than just knowing schemes. You got to build stuff.
Yeah, and I appreciate you recognizing that. I think we wanted to have a program in place on April 7th that the players would be proud of, that they wanted to take ownership of, and they wanted to try to protect. So it's everything around the players, making sure that that's good and it's sound, everything that touches them, great staff, great support staff. And then when they get back in here, I wanted it to feel different. I wanted it to have an energy to it. And we were intentional with getting to know each other. Everybody's journey to this National Football League, it looks a little different, whether it's a coach or a player, draft pick, high draft pick, free agent, whatever it may be. But everybody's got a different journey to this league, and they've got a different story. And we were intentional with trying to find out what those were. And then the plays started, then we started installing plays. But I felt like what was important in the off season was that we try to get the right people in the building at the right time. With Elliott, and Ryan, and Stretch, and everybody that was involved in that process through free agency and the draft and everything else.
Yeah, Elliott's a sharp guy. All the GMs I know in the league thinks he really, really like him. When did you know? Was there a moment that you said privately, maybe you didn't tell the players, or maybe you did, that you went to your staff and you said, guys, we're good, like right now? Like, was there an epiphany for you, Mike, watching film thinking, maybe we're a little better than a 9 or a 10 win team, we're a 12, 13 win team?
No, I don't think I ever really thought that. I think that we just try to improve. I try to tell them things that have helped me through the 30 years of being in this league, of trying to improve along the way. And the teams that continue to improve are the ones that get to play in January and in the postseason. And we try to do that. Focus on some keys, focus on building an identity. And then once you build something that you care about, you try to protect it.
You made a comment in camp that I remember, and I talked about it on the air. You said in camp, hey, to be great, you got to be a leader every day. Drake Maye, every day, you got to lead. And it was almost like you were kind of pushing him, like, kid, I know you're the youngest guy in the locker room. Was that your intention, that it is hard to be 23 and lead men that are often 33? Was that your intention when you said that?
Yeah, and I think, anything that I've said publicly, I've said, obviously privately to our players or staff or anybody else. So that wasn't, I've never tried to send a message through the media, but it just talking about maturity. I don't think maturity has anything to do with age. It has everything to do with experience and what, Drake went through last year in his first year, and the things that he experienced and what the opportunities that he had, and then going into the second season and learning a new offense and, building and the training camp. And I think you just start to see each and every day, his spirit, his passion, his energy, his leadership, how much he puts into this, the excitement that he has for everybody on the football team when they have success. I mean, he's into this when the defensive guys, and we played a bunch of guys last week in the Jets game. He stayed in the game, and he's supporting every single guy. So I think his maturity has grown extremely high since I first met him in January or whenever it was.
You're a defensive guy, yet you feel very current with offense. That is not the case with a lot of defensive coaches. They just don't feel like they quite have a sensibility for it. How do you stay connected to offense when your history is on the other side?
Spent a little time on offense back in the day, but I would say just having the experience to be in Tennessee and be the head coach there, and one of our best players, or if not our best player, was Derrick Henry, and how important the run game was to us. And I guess maybe having a son that was an offensive lineman, I gravitated towards that room. I tried to learn. I tried to understand blocking schemes, but I also felt like as a defensive player, I wanted to know what the scheme was, or what the guy across from me, what his job was. maybe that would help me do my job. Sitting in a lot of meetings and try to learn from, the coaches, the coordinators, and because I feel like the one thing that I can do is have a connection with each and every player and every position. If I can just have one or two things about the game plan or something that they can do to, help them do their job better, that's an immediate connection, especially during the season. I can walk in and say, hey, this is how they're running their games, or this is the pressure, or whatever it may be. If I can just have one thing, that's a good connection for me, or a good place for me to be able to enter into a meeting.
Mike, you have when you sit after a game, you stand up and you meet every player. You obviously connect with players. Is the hardest part of your job when you have to bark and not be a friendly guy? Because you're a guy that really connects emotionally. What happens when you have to turn on that guy the next day at practice and bark? Is that a tough thing?
Well, we've always talked about that. When you can make a connection with somebody and you get on guys, I got to protect the team. That's my job. I tell them that. I don't have to do it all the time, that they can do it. And if they don't, then I'm more than happy to step in and do that. I know how hard their job is. That's why I've always stood out there, win or lose, thank them for what they do out there on the football field. We don't take those things or opportunities for granted. There's a lot of pressure on them to perform personally and also for this team. And so, there's never, I'm trying to be demanding and not be demeaning, and certainly try to work on the way that my tone and the way that I try to hold everybody accountable.
Does Brady ever call you and try to give you tips on Drake Maye or anything like that? Does he ever text you or anything like that?
Nah, we're all set right now.
Yeah, I try to give him tips on broadcasting. He doesn't want to listen to that either. So, hey, it's great.
Yeah, he should pay attention.
Hey, good luck. Congrats. Really happy for you, Mike. You've kicked butt.
Yeah, thank you for your support. I appreciate it.
You bet. Mike Vrabel.